call this business meeting of the James City County Board of Supervisors to order. Good afternoon. Mr. Stevens, if you'll call the roll.
Ms. Roll? No. Mr. Hippel?
Here.
Mr. McGlennon? Here. Mr. Eisenhower?
Here.
Ms. Larson?
Here.
All present.
All right, first we're going to start with our presentations. Today we have a proclamation celebrating 100 years of Boy Scout Troop 103. Unfortunately, the Scoutmaster was unable to be here, but we do have a proclamation, and I will just read a few lines from that, but we will make sure that we get it to Boy Scout Troop 103. Whereas Boy Scout Troop 103 celebrates its 100th year as a continuously chartered Boy Scout troop in the Williamsburg area since March 1924, and whereas the mission of the Boy Scouts of America is to prepare young people to make conservation-minded, community service-oriented, and good choices over their lifetimes by instilling in the values of the Scout Oath and Law, and whereas Troop 103 has impacted hundreds of young men and helped 296 Scouts achieve the Eagle Scout rank, and whereas Troop 103 has served the community through conservation service, community service, and numerous Eagle Scout projects benefiting the community, nonprofit organizations, and local schools. And whereas James City County has a culture which honors and supports citizens who have made significant efforts to improve the community through community service, now therefore be it resolved that I, Chair of the Board of Supervisors of James City County, hereby honor and commend Boy Scout Troop 103 for its 100 years of service to the community. So, congratulations to them. With that brings us to a retiree recognition, Bernadette Williams, and I believe Chief Ash. Good afternoon.
Madam Chair, members of the board, it's my honor this afternoon to recognize two retirees, one of them Bernadette Williams, who's with us this afternoon. Anytime we have folks retire, it's always an exciting moment for them that they've worked for our department 25, 30, 35 years. And some of them are especially hard, and Ms. Williams is going to be especially hard. So if I cry a little bit, bear with me. Bernadette Williams, or Miss Bernadette, as we all knew her, began working for James City County Fire Department in July of 1994. She tells me she was originally hired to answer the phones for 20 hours a week. Well, if you know Miss Bernadette, you know she couldn't just answer the phones for very long. So she quickly became involved in things like budget management, purchasing, logistics, and probably more special assignments than we can ever name. Over her career, Miss Bernadette had several formal titles like secretary, administrative specialist, administrative coordinator. However, none of them really capture what she meant to our department. For many years, Ms. Bernadette has been responsible for purchasing equipment, supplies, uniforms, and most importantly, our protective gear that keeps our firefighters safe. Her approach to taking care of our firefighters earned her the title of Fire Department Mom, where she jokingly says now grandmother, based on how young our folks that we fired are. Ms. Bernadette is one of the first people who meet our new firefighters when they get sized and outfitted for uniforms and gear. She's been the face of the James City County Fire Department to most of our vendors and suppliers for many years. I think especially want to mention that during the early days, weeks, months of our response to COVID, Ms. Bernadette spent many long nights, early mornings, weekends, tracking down the protective gear that our firefighters needed, gloves and masks and things like that, not just for the fire department, but for the county. And I think that kind of shows the dedication and what it was like to work with Bernadette. So we'll definitely miss her early morning and late night refreshment runs to provide rehab at extended incidents. Most people don't know that in the middle of the night when the firefighters are out working, Miss Bernadette would come from home, pick up the van, get some hot coffee, drinks, bananas, things like that, and make sure our folks were well taken care of. We can never thank her enough for taking care of us the way she has, and we hope she enjoys her much-deserved retirement as she moves back home to Florida in the coming weeks. Miss Bernadette, we love you.
Thank you. I'll sit. Well, thank you so much. I'm speechless. It has been a fabulous 30 years, and I hope everybody in this county recognizes what great people we have working for both the county and the fire department, our citizens and our visitors. They get such exemplary care from our people. It's not just me, I don't just go overboard, it's every single person here. You know, Chief Ash and his team, they're the bomb. I mean, that's why I'm willing to go out at 2 o'clock in the morning. If they're out there fighting a fire, then they're gonna get whatever it is they need. And I can't thank you guys enough because you have supported the fire department from day one. When I started, there were 41 people. You know, look at us now. So thank you so very much for the support from me and the fire department and everybody in the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you get a quick picture
Sure.
with the board?
I had my hands.
Where are you going in Florida? Thank you. Congratulations. Enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Did you just pretend to take ours, or? Thank you. You're gonna have to delete Goofy.
We did have one other firefighter who's also retiring April 1st. However, unfortunately, had a last-minute conflict and couldn't be here. But if it's okay with the board, I'd like to go ahead and read a few comments we had prepared for him. So,
Please do.
firefighter Eric Smith, or Smitty as we all knew him, started working for James City County Fire Department in January of 1999. And for the past 25 years, he's proudly served our community, spending much of his time at Station 2 on Pocahontas Trail and Station 5 on Monticello Avenue. During his career, he was a mentor to many firefighters and company officers, helping them learn features of their apparatus and characteristics of their response districts. For about the last 15 years of his career, he's been one of the primary SCBA technicians. Those are the air packs that the firefighters wear on their back so they can operate in smoke-filled environments. He's kept those air packs tested and maintained, and that's an additional responsibility and outside the normal duties of a firefighter, which meant he often spent nights and weekends at the stations keeping those tested and repaired. It's probably something that for most of our firefighters they take for granted. They do their daily checks, but knowing that that was tested and maintained in their annual maintenance is a lot of work, and Smitty was one of those guys that behind the scenes took care of that equipment for us. So we appreciate Firefighter Smith's years of dedicated service to our community, and we hope he enjoys an opportunity he has now to enjoy riding his motorcycle, and he was a competitive shooter for many years, so hopefully he'll have time to get back to doing those two things. So sorry he couldn't be here, and thanks for letting us just read a few words about him.
Please pass along our thanks for his service to our county. Really appreciate it, and I'm sorry he couldn't be here. But thank you for going ahead and telling us about him.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That brings us to an update from Virginia Peninsula Community College. We have with us Todd Estes, Vice President of Workforce Development, and Joe Fairchild, Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs. Welcome.
So much. Well, thanks so much for having us. I am indeed Todd Estes. I serve as the Vice President for Workforce Development and Innovation with Virginia Peninsula Community College. And Joe and I will be teaming up today to provide the update on Virginia Peninsula. And it's perhaps a bit of a reintroduction of the college. We are very excited about where we are at the college, but we will try to be brief. So Joe and I will try to stay at a relatively high level. We certainly welcome questions, and if there are questions that we can answer after the presentation, we're happy to do that as well. So we'll start with just a quick frame of reference here. So what do our enrollments look like? So we currently have a little over 8,500 academic students and over 1,500 non-credit students. So to clarify that and put that in community college language, so our unduplicated headcount and credit courses, those are our traditional academic courses, think credit hour, English, history, and even in the technical space, but your traditional post-secondary college courses. So that's that enrollment number. The 1,530 is when we refer to as non-credit, but that's really largely our workforce training. So that's our accelerated training programs. So the college is heavily invested in several areas, categories when it comes to non-credit training. Skilled trades is certainly a space, one of our largest spaces that we do a lot of training in. Allied health is really on par when you look at numbers with skilled trades and allied health, and a growing offerings in IT. So if you look at how the college and the health of the college, one of the things we certainly want to see is, are we growing or are we contracting? The good news is we are growing, and this is a reversal of a trend where we have been declining enrollment for quite some time, and that is consistent with the national trend. So community college in general nationally since about 2012 have been shrinking. And a lot of that had their economic drivers there. There's lots of higher education influences that have driven those decreases in enrollments. Then we had a little thing called the pandemic here a few years ago that didn't help anybody in any industry. But we are now in a growth phase, and we're really excited about that. So you'll see here that we're actually have an increase of 27% in dual enrollment, and I know Joe's going to offer a little more information on that. So that's really exciting and certainly something that's very important to our communities and our K-12 system. We are showing an increase of 32% in course enrollments in those non-credit workforce-related courses, so that's significant growth. I will tell you, Virginia Peninsula Community College, we have 23 colleges within our system. We're at about fourth in the number of workforce industry credential trainings within the 23 system. So we're really excited about our place and our growth in workforce development there. And then you'll see the last there where we talk about a 7% increase over spring 2023 in FTE. So FTE is full-time equivalent students. So that's how we measure our academic enrollment. And so we're up 7%, which we're really excited about that enrollment trend for us right now. I'll turn it over to Joe.
Good afternoon, and as Todd mentioned, I'm Joe Fairchild. I'm the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs. Before you on the screen is our dual enrollment breakdown. As Todd mentioned, we've had an increase of 27% in our dual enrollment. This slide does show Williamsburg, James City County as decreasing in percentage, but you've actually gone up. But what's accounted for the fact that you have a smaller share of our dual enrollment is the fact that it's grown more quickly in other areas, Hampton, Newport News, those other areas. So you don't have less dual enrollment students. You actually have more dual enrollment students, but it's just a smaller share of our particular dual enrollment cadre at the college. As Todd said, we are seeing increase in many areas throughout the college. As you can see on this slide, our retention rates have improved. So retention rates is those students who have stayed with us coming from semester to semester. So that's an important area for us because that shows that these students are being successful in their studies and they're coming back and returning. And that retention rate we have has been increasing, as have our graduation rates. So there's more students that are coming back and more students are being successful in achieving their graduation, as well as our completers in our short-term certificates, short-term programs, Fast Forward, which is through workforce and other areas. These short-term certificates, these short-term modes of study are also increasing. So across the board, we are increasing in enrollment, we're increasing in headcount, we're increasing in the success of the students in their return to the college semester over semester. As you can see here, we have a large percentage of students that are actually going on to other state universities, that are going on to our four-year universities, and there are wonderful programs that the state has created, such as the Uniform Passport and the Uniform Certificate in General Studies. These are programs that we developed where the students come to our school and they can get a certificate either through Passport or the UCGS, and those are fully transportable. They have to be accepted at the four-year colleges in Virginia. So we're seeing a great deal of that transfer, that portability, and that's a wonderful factor for, again, dual enrollment students who can come to the college, get those 30 or those 16 credits, whether it's Passport or UCGS, and take those to any four-year university in the Commonwealth. And so we are increasing in that as well as our graduates at the college.
Those transfer pathways are so important to students, for our students, and of course our university partners. I just attended a meeting this morning with some of our fine William and Mary colleagues, which are near and dear, I know, to this group's heart. And we had some great conversation around entrepreneurship and how we can work more closely together. So those university partnerships are incredibly important. And as you see on the slide as well, you see that our students, so bringing it back to the community college level, tend to remain in the Commonwealth at a higher rate than our university peers, which is not a knock against our university peers, but it's something very important for us, because that means our contributions, not only to our students, really stay home. Right? And so those investments are really important to not only students, but to our communities. And so workforce. So I'm a workforce guy, and I introduce myself as such. And I will suggest that everything we do at the community college is workforce related, whether that is accelerated training or two-year associate transfer degrees. All of our students at some point will be employed, and we are preparing our students for employment. And this slide will actually show that there's a very high percentage of our folks that are employed very quickly after they complete with us in every area. So you'll see under college transfer, 3/4 of our students are employed within 8 months, even in the transfer pathway that's designed for university transfer. Then career and technical, so those are those more applied degree pathways that are intended to be typically a maximum of 2 years in education, so they are employed at 83% rate. And then our short-term academic credentials, or not academic credentials, workforce credentials, are actually employed at a higher rate, which you would expect, because that's what those are designed to do, and so those are at 84%. So that is a big part of our return on investment for our own communities, and of course to our students, because education and workforce training is not the end. Right? So that's a vehicle to employment, and we're very much aware of that and making sure our students are getting those great jobs in our communities. So we did, as a college, contract with a consultant to help us with the economic impact study, and we just got those results here within the last year. They were quite favorable, and we'll share just a few of the high-level data points for that. And so as you see, our operational spending, so we're a large organization, as you can imagine. So just in our operations and doing our operations within our local communities, we're bringing in nearly $30 million just in operational spending, which is not a small amount to most of our communities. Student impact, of course, we're adding regional income of $5.5 million, and then alumni impact, right? And so that's especially important when we talk about the alumni. We just mentioned the fact that our alumni stay here. They stay in our communities, they stay in the Commonwealth, and you see that is the largest impact of 211. So they calculated that impact as $211 million, and so that's really important when as public servants, as we are, and of course as this group is, we're always looking at where do the investments get the best bang for the buck, and we like to think that we contribute a lot, that we're a good expense. So also, they looked at this with 3 constituencies, perhaps, or 3 lenses. You have the student perspective, so they are spending money for their education. Are they getting return on investment? The answer is yes. So they calculated that for every dollar spent by a student, they will return $7.50 on that $1. So that's a pretty good return on investment. So if you're investing in tuition dollars, you expect that to pay off, and they did indeed say that it did. As a taxpayer, we care about where our taxes go. So again, as public servants, if we're spending tax dollars, we want them to be spent on the most valuable areas, and because we certainly have lots of competing priorities as a society. And so we did show a 3.4 or $3.40 return on every dollar taxpayer spent. And so we were very encouraged by that. And that was very favorable as compared to other universities and colleges within the Commonwealth. So we were quite proud of that. And then the social perspective. So that's a lot of other things that go into that calculation. So when it comes to lifetime earnings and the like, and so that is also a very high return. So $9.60 on $1. So we were very pleased with the outcome of that study. So now to bring it home to just a few of our physical projects that we have going on. So we are growing, and we're very excited about that. The top bullet you'll see there is a theater. Now that was kind of thrust upon us. That one's not quite as exciting. We had a bit of an issue. Fortunately, if there's anything fortunate from the pandemic, it happened when there weren't many people on campus. But we actually had a major structural failure for our theater here a couple of years ago. That project is now underway and being rebuilt. So we're really excited about having our new theater very soon. And so that's on our main campus down in Hampton. So we have a student success and campus administration building. So that is a building that is in the works. We're going to bring a couple of buildings offline on our main campus, and we're going to have a very nice state-of-the-art building there on campus within the next couple of years. We're very excited about that project and what it will bring to our students and the student experience on our Hampton campus. The Center for Excellence in Childhood Development. So that there's a childhood center that is being built, is actually nearing completion down in the Marshall Ridley area of Southeast Newport News. The college will have a piece of that center where we will have a center of excellence for early childhood education. So the intent of the college's presence in that facility will be really around the community resource types of classes for parent education and that sort of thing. So it's really intended to be an investment in the community by the college rather than providing traditional coursework. It's really a resource for that community. So we're very excited about that project. And then we have a new skilled trades center that we're working on with the city of Newport News. It will also be in the Southeast Center near the Marshall Ridley neighborhood, where we are in the process of designing and should be groundbreaking in about June of a 16,000 square foot facility to deliver skilled trades training in Southeast Newport News. Not on this slide is the center that we just opened up in Tuano. So we opened that in Tuano in James City County February of last year, and we had ribbon cutting, I think it was April of last year. So that facility is coming to life. We're really excited about that. We have a robust welding program. Our welding program is doing very well up there. Our carpentry program is taking root, and we have some great instructors up there now for carpentry, and then we'll be bringing on masonry and CNC machining very soon. So we're very excited about those projects and the opportunity that it provides to our communities. I'll get out of the way. Joe?
And then we have new academic programming coming on board. So we have, which will be housed here at our Williamsburg campus, is a licensed practical nurse program. So we are gearing up the laboratory for that right now, and that will be accepting students in the fall semester. And that program will enable students to sit for the LPN exam to continue on in that field. We are also, as I mentioned earlier, facilitating the input of the UCGS and Passport here in person at the Williamsburg campus. So students don't have to go to the Hampton campus for that. Here in Williamsburg, students will be able to complete the entire Passport as well as the complete Uniform Certificate in General Studies here at the Williamsburg campus as well. And we are also at the moment reimagining our dental hygiene assistant program. There has been some challenges with the program due to the cost involved in that, and so we are currently reimagining that to see how we might bring in our partners from industry and in the field and our health agencies in order to reimagine that and to make that in such a way that it's sustainable for the college and benefits the community. We are also having other incentives or areas where we're increasing our footprint. We have our Center for Career Internship and Transfer Services that's opened at the Hampton campus. We also have our Healthcare Training Center and our Educational Programming and Innovation Center. So each of these centers are focused on their specific areas and will enable students to receive the advising and support they need to be successful in those respective areas. And that is, the end of our presentation. Thank you so much.
Are there questions?
I don't really have a question, but I did want to just suggest that I've been seeing a lot more outreach by the community college in recent months, and I think that's really very impressive and helpful. Reminds folks that you're out there and that there are opportunities available. And I think the fact that you're putting a lot of effort into workforce development is especially encouraging. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We have been making a concerted effort to be more out there in the public.
So the question I had, you said WJCC's numbers had not decreased, but had their number of slots decreased? Is that what I was hearing from you?
I may. So, to give you an example, the dual enrollment numbers that I refer to are the numbers of actual students who are engaging in dual enrollment classes. So I have a couple years worth of numbers. So if we look at fall of 22, there were 218 students who participated in dual enrollment.
Is that in total or from WJCC?
That's from Jamestown, Lafayette, and War Hill.
Great.
And then in the following semester in spring, it went from 218 down to 215, but roughly the same.
Yeah.
In fall of 23, it went up to 234. So it actually increased this past fall from 218 the previous fall to 234 this most recent fall, and then 225 this spring, with there being some attrition in the spring semester. Okay. So your numbers have actually gone up as far as the number of students participating in dual enrollment. Again, the school system works very closely with us to see what courses they could offer, but we have been making concerted efforts to try to bring more students in. So we're happy to work with all the different school, school agencies to try to bring as many dual enrollments as we can. As we know in the previous slide, we're up 27% in the past 5 years, and so we are really happy to increase that enrollment. Now, a lot of times it's programmatic, the difficulty in matching up the program to the school system, as well as one of our biggest challenges is actually with being able to credential the high school faculty for the college courses as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. My youngest participated in when she was at Jamestown, and I think where I saw the biggest win for that was when she went off to college and so if she had in her classes at Jamestown, she maybe didn't necessarily have to take the final exam. That wasn't an option at Virginia Peninsula. She had to take the final exam. So she had that. It just really helped a lot. I'm a big believer in dual enrollment, so I think it's great. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Thanks very much. Any other questions? All right. Thanks so much. Thank you both for coming out. Appreciate it. That brings us to our consent calendar. Today's consent calendar consists of the following items: authorization to continue leasing flock safety LPR cameras, grant award 7,974 Circuit Court Records Preservation Program, grant award 15,000 Virginia DEQ CBPA Support Grant 2024, grant award 9,164 Virginia Conservation Assistance Program funding, Brickyard Landing Park, 5 minutes adoption, 6 resolution of Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance violation at 156 Spencer's Grant. Does anyone wish to pull an item? All right, if there's not a
The adoption of the consent calendar.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan?
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. All right, that brings us to board discussions. First, we have the Forge Road Scenic Roadway Protection. Paul Holt. Or Jason.
Well, here's Paul.
Here's Paul.
Stand-in. So the board has discussed this a couple of times over the past few months. The last time it was before the board, I think there was a little bit of concern that having the community character corridor be the focus might bring in additional properties that would have regulations that wouldn't otherwise be wanted. So staff has gone back to the drawing board and is trying to identify the most appropriate way to handle it, and are going to be looking at having an overlay district along Forge Road. So what you see in front of you would be properties that are 40 acres or more along Forge Road, North Riverside Drive, which is the end of Forge Road, and Diaskind Road. So these are potential properties that would be able to be drawn in as a part of an overlay district. I think staff would just like the board's guidance as if this would be something that would be a little closer to something that the board would be able to support, and that way staff could take it to the policy committee for additional discussion.
Thank you, Jason. Is there any comments?
Works for me. Let's move on.
Does it work for everybody?
What?
All right. Paul, thanks for coming in. Jason did an excellent job.
Thank you.
All right. So are we good? All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. That brings us to Government Center update. Assistant Administrator Brad Reinheimer.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Stevens. I promised you all at the retreat that I would come to all the work sessions and sort of give you an update on where we are with the Government Center. So that's what I'm doing here today. We did have a large staff meeting since then where all the leadership with county employees attended, and we did another exercise with them to allow them to provide some input on what they wanted to see in the new Government Center. They also did a little breakout exercise and sort of listed their top 3 things that they wanted to see in this building. Thought it went really well. I got some more good input from them in regards to the new center. We have formed a list for our stakeholder group, and I have sent invitations out to those folks to participate. I'm still waiting to hear back from a couple of those. And those are a group of citizens and business owners that either work or live in the county to also help us provide some input on what they want to see in the new Government Center. And these are people who a lot of stake in the community, whether they have a business or they've lived here a long time. I sent you all a list of some of the names. I've added a few to that list since then, but we should be meeting probably the end of April or sometime in May, and I'll certainly let you all know that, whatever date that's going to be, so you're aware of that if you'd like to attend one of those meetings. We are continuing with our bi-weekly meetings with the builders group. We actually have one tomorrow afternoon. It's every 2 weeks at 1 o'clock we meet. Tomorrow we're actually holding the meeting at the Law Enforcement Center. They are going to tour the Law Enforcement Center. There's a lot of things that we talk about at these meetings where I'm always, and they sort of joke about this, I'm always saying, well, at the LEC we have this, or at the LEC we have this. So we're going to tour with them tomorrow so they can see some of the things that we've talked about at some of these meetings, you know, dealing with safety and security, the way some of the things are set up at the LEC. And I think you all have been in there many times, but you all are certainly welcome to come to that tomorrow if you'd like. But it's really mostly just for the architects because they're not very familiar with Law Enforcement Center, and for Henderson and Gilbane as well because they're not that familiar with the Law Enforcement Center either. Still working through the programming phase. The architects are in today and they're in tomorrow over at Building D, meeting with some of the department heads to talk about space allocation. We're still trying to get the space a little bit down from where we're currently at with the new Government Center. The space needs study that we did, if we add in all those departments to a new building, it's over 200,000 square feet, which doesn't include the school admin part. So we're trying to bring that number down a little bit using combined conference rooms, combined break areas and other things just to try to get that square footage down a little bit. The estimate that they had provided, if you recall, was for somewhere around 160,000 square feet. So we're a little bit above that right now, but we're hoping to get that number down. Meeting tomorrow with the last few department heads, and then they're going to schedule some meetings with you all to get your input. Mr. Stevens and I had talked a little bit. We were sort of waiting for you all to get through the budget time to put too much more on your plate. I know with your budget meetings you have coming up, we were kind of waiting for after those to get you all too much more involved in that. But you'll be seeing something from me or the architectural group about scheduling meetings with you all to give some more input. And then lastly, we are scheduling a tour of the Virginia Beach Municipal Center and the Suffolk Municipal Building sometime in the end of April. So I will let you know once we have that date finalized. I would love it if you all could come to that. If some can't make it, that's certainly fine. We can do another trip. We're doing an all-day thing. We're going to do Virginia Beach and Suffolk, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. They're relatively close, so we can do that another time if y'all aren't able to make that date. So that's kind of all I have in the way of update.
What was that date again?
I don't have it yet.
Yeah.
It'll be sometime in the end of April, I think 25th, 26th time frame in April, but I'll let you know as soon as that's finalized. That's kind of all I have as far as update. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? Right, I would just comment that I thought the large staff meeting, that part of it was, well, all of it was done very well. I'm sorry. But this piece I thought was done very well. And the employees, there wasn't, an ice cream, they were very reasonable in their approach to, safety and security was a big concern, along with something like a decent place to eat, and sunlight, and just making sure there was some place to meet, but it's just interesting. Some people don't want any partitions, other people want offices. You've got a big lot of ask you've got to work through. But I just thought it was a great exercise, and I commend our employees, the people that were there that really put a lot of thought into to it, and you took it very seriously. So,
Yeah, thank you.
thanks. All right, that brings us to appointment, Eastern Virginia Regional Industrial Facilities Authority. We have a board discussion about a member to be appointed to the EVRIFA. Would you like us to lead that, or?
No, Madam Chair, I think that it's where Ms. Sadler had been appointed to that. I think Chris Johnson had discussed it with Ms. Knoll, and maybe she's willing to take that on. But we wanted to do that with your concurrence. If I'm speaking out of turn, Ms. Knoll, please let me know. You can correct me, and we'll look for other volunteers. But it is an elected official position. We do have alternates, so if whoever is appointed is unable to attend, but that's at least how that ended back up in front of you today.
Thank you. Ms. Null, are you willing to
I'm
take?
good, yes. I'd
Okay.
be happy to do it.
All right, so,
I'd second that.
okay, all right. So, Mr. Stevens, do
How
we
nice,
need a
thank
roll
you.
call, or she?
I think having a roll call would
Team.
make it official.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. And
All
you've
right.
got that there. So Ms. Knoll,
Aye.
Mr. Hippel.
Aye.
Mr. McGlinnan. Mr. Eisenhower. Ms. Larson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank
Okay,
you.
there are no board considerations, board requests and directives.
Have anything for board requests and directives?
Oh, no, I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have one thing, and that is on March 13th, I had the opportunity to attend a tour of Jamestown High School with Amy Chen, who's a newly selected member of the Williamsburg City Council for the school board. And the tour of Jamestown High School I found very, very impressive. Mr. Townsend seemed to know every student that he encountered as he took us around the halls. The building itself was in beautiful shape. Everybody seemed to know where they were going and to get there with minimum disruption. And then we were able to visit in 2 classrooms, one of which was a combined English literature and history course that was focused in the historical part on the 1930s and 40s and using literature from that time period as well. The project that the students were working on was creating basically graphic novels where they had created superheroes who might be able to address some of the issues that would have come up during that time period, whether it was the Great Depression or World War II, rise of Nazis in Germany and so forth. And they were using computers to put together this the animation for these graphic novels. And really very, very impressive work being done by the teachers in that regard. And then I visited a math class, which was absolutely astounding. We had a number of students who were primarily Spanish-speaking students, and the other half or 2/3 of the class were English speakers. The particular teacher in that instance was really providing what would be a wonderful model to be able to replicate because he moved seamlessly between the students who primarily relied on English and versus Spanish and was able to talk with them and explain the mathematical material very clearly and had the class fully engaged. It was really a tremendous opportunity, and I was very proud and excited to see our high school doing such a great job at Jamestown, as I'm sure they're doing at Lafayette and at War Hill. But it was a wonderful experience. And then just also to mention that we then later that week had a meeting with the school board and the city council that I found very informative about their budget requests for this year.
Very quickly, first of all, I want to say thank you to Jason. He's there. We had a constituent concern about abandoned vehicles in one of my neighborhoods, and staff, Jason got our staff on it and got it resolved and removed in very short order, and gotten a very nice thank you back. I need to let them know exactly who to thank you, who to thank, because you guys did the work getting that taken care of for our community. I did attend the Chamber of Commerce board meeting this month. We meet every other month. This month we met at the Yorktown Naval Training Center, and Captain Ray and his group really put on a very, very nice presentation. They took us to their mess hall for lunch, which was a steak. It was steak day, and it was it's like the Coast Guard's a lot like the Navy. They eat well. So so we had a very, very good lunch, and then we had a very good meeting. And afterwards, a lot of the members of the chamber got to tour a lot of the facility there. And then on Friday, I managed to have a meeting with my breakfast group that I normally meet with once a month, and Ms. Larson was able to come catch a few javelins with me. So I think she found it rather an interesting engagement with some of the members of our community. So that was very enjoyable. That's all I have.
Very
Madam
much.
Chair, I just remembered.
Yeah.
I do have something.
No worries.
I attended a week ago Friday the graduation at the Peninsula Jail for the ladies there who had finished a class they have there getting off of drugs. They all graduated, so 5 of them graduated, and Amanda Batten spoke, and the sheriffs were there, everybody was there. It was really, really nice. And then sitting behind them, they had all the ladies that were coming through the group, so it kind of made them feel really good, and that's what they can work for. And then they had a lovely luncheon afterwards, so it was very well attended, and it was a lot of fun. So it was nice, and a good program.
Great. Thanks for telling us about it. Appreciate it. So yes, I was going to mention our joint meeting as well, and then a little bit after our joint meeting, I went over to the Williamsburg Community Chapel where the Williamsburg Symphony was doing a presentation for, I believe, 5th graders for our school system. It was a entire program about Ellis Island, and they used actual pictures, and then they had actors who read or played a character, but from actual written history that they have from citizens who came in through Ellis Island. And it was excellent. I sat next to Barb Ramsey, and when I sat down, she said, "I'm seeing this later tonight, so I'm going to have to leave. Don't judge me." And she stayed the whole time, even though she was going to see it later, because it was so good, and the students were they were so into it. And like when they would put these pictures up of, or this might have been, I think, a drawing. It was like waves, and when one of the characters was talking about some of the storms they encountered. I mean, they came over in really rough conditions, and the music would get louder and go along with the picture. And a person that I'm in book club with mentioned that part where her students on the way back to the schools, they were talking about, did you hear how the music changed when they put the waves up? It was incredible, and the symphony did a great job. The kids everybody did a great job. So thank you I'm so glad to have been asked to come and be able to participate in that and to see it. Then later that day, I, along with Supervisor McGlennon and City Council Member Caleb Rogers and our Assistant County Administrator Brad Reinheimer, participated in a local government talk with the Sorensen group, the PLP class this year. And I thought that went very well. I want to thank you for participating. And, the thing is, when you participate with John in one of these things, first of all, he just knows so much about local government, but there's always someone in there that John taught something. John is like the Kevin Bacon of the government world. I'm telling you right now, 6 degrees of separation. Also, want to thank, I participated in a panel at the Williamsburg Landing. I want to thank them for having me. Then the chair of the school board, Sarah Ortego, and I did a webinar with VACO about school board and Board of Supervisor Relations. And Supervisor Null is in that class as well for the supervisor certification. And earlier that day, I met with the owner of Muddy Marley's, and Rebecca is also on our EDA. She is bringing this really neat thing here this fall. And I can't remember, it's something with Doc, oh gosh, I should have brought my flyer. But it's this, they're going to put this big pool in the middle of the parking lot up at Route 5 Shopping Center, Monticello, and 199 and 5, excuse me. And these dogs jump in, they see what their distance. This is actually the last stop before they qualify for nationals. Some of these dogs actually wear suits, like similar to what NASCAR drivers wear, where they have sponsors on them, but it helps them be more aerodynamic. I mean, this is a big deal. And they are going to do this they're going to bring this here, and I will get the name and mention it the next time. I can't believe I'm hitting a blank. But anyway, it just sounds really cool. And it's going to bring a lot of visitors to the area. People come from all over to see this and to participate. And so I think it's going to be really something neat that we've not had in this area before. And then Thursday, Scott and I traveled down to Chesapeake for the HRTPO and HRPDC meeting. And hopefully you all are getting they do a recap where they send out an email. So hopefully all of you are getting that. But if you have any questions, please let me know. So,
Madam Chair, I
yes.
got a report on the good comments you made during that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you got that. So, all right. Report of the county administrator.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Chair, members of the board, a couple things I would like to share. One, our 46th annual countywide litter cleanup is coming Saturday, April 27th. Our Clean County Commission will provide bags, grabbers, vests, areas to clean up, and all those things. So if you have a group and want to come clean up a space April 27th, feel free. If you're an individual, we'll get you to another group so you can be part of a group that's out there, and you can get more information by calling 757-259-5375. Again, 259-5375. Again, Saturday, April 27th for our 46th annual countywide litter cleanup. I'd also like to mention, as you might imagine, our real estate division has been fielding many calls related to the new assessments that went out in late February. If you've talked with us to our residents, we haven't forgotten you. Our assessors are working back through the process, and some of those calls are 5 minutes, and some of those calls are an hour. But you are on the list. If we've talked to you, we will be in touch with you, so we would ask for continued patience there with us. As you may know, the assessment process is driven by state code. I've had a number of people ask me, can I change their assessment? I cannot. You have to work back through our assessors and then our Board of Equalization if you think the value is wrong. And so I would just encourage people and our residents to do that. If they feel there's a mistake with their assessment, to contact our real estate staff, 757-253-6650. Again, 757-253-6650. Your deadline with our staff for just a staff reassessment is the end of March. The deadline for appeal with the Board of Equalization is April 29th. So there's still plenty of time for our residents to appeal their new assessment if they believe it is in error. I'd also like to mention the FY 25-26 proposed budget will be released March 29th, so later this week. There will be many opportunities for our residents to learn more about what is included in the budget and why I believe additional revenue is needed or where it is needed. Each member of the board has agreed to host a public meeting in their respective district, and we will talk about the proposed budget and provide an opportunity for feedback and interaction with our residents. Residents are welcome to attend any of the district meetings. It doesn't have to be just their district, but we have 5 of these coming. So the Berkeley district will be April 3rd at 6 p.m. at Legacy Hall. The Jamestown district will be April 4th, and if I get these wrong, please correct me. You all probably know them as well as I do. April 4th at 6 p.m. at the James City County Recreation Center. The Stonehouse district meeting will be April 8th at 6 p.m. at Toanna Middle School. The Powhatan district meeting will be April 10th at 6 p.m. at Hornsby Middle School. And the Roberts District meeting will be at 4 p.m., not 6 p.m., here at the Government Center on Mounts Bay Road. And again, just an earlier start time, Mr. McGlennon agreed to allow us to do that in case there are residents who don't want to be out potentially after dark. I hope they don't go that long, but you never know when you roll into those public meetings. Would also mention the budget public hearing for the proposed budget will be April 9th at your regular meeting, which begins at 5 p.m. So the public hearing will start sometime after 5 p.m. And then Sharon McCarthy and I, our finance director, are doing a budget podcast that will begin airing before April 5th, maybe as early as April 3rd, but trying to have that information out there as well. And with the new assessments, we have a lot of interest in a reduction of the tax rate, so I'm sure we will hear that as we go into that. We will have more information on the proposed budget at each of these district meetings, but I will tell you going into it, as we are about to release the budget, the primary need for more revenue is salaries, both for our school division staff and our county staff. And I do believe we are paid well and have excellent benefits, but we're not competitive in a lot of areas. And you see that in some of the retention rates and where we're losing people and then struggling to attract and retain some of the talent that I believe we need going forward. So more to come. We will ask you as a board to consider adoption of the budget May 14th. So our residents have a few weeks, 4 to 6 weeks here to sort of work through the process, understand it, and try to influence where they think is the best path for the county. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and find any of us, myself included, and we'll be happy to talk through that.
So when you bring your budget out, I know the school board, I believe, the superintendent had asked for 3%, but I believe the school board raised that to 4.5.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am,
correct?
that is
Because,
correct.
and, you know, I hear about it every day. They're losing people to other districts for $4,000 and $5,000. So your budget will have the 4.5. Is that what was brought forward?
Yes, ma'am, that's what we'll have.
Okay.
And again, if they do a 1% raise, particularly above the state, that's all on us, all on the localities, and it's about $1 million a year per percent between
Okay.
the city and the county. So it's significant, and that is why the ask in our budget, even though there's significant new tax revenue potentially, the cost of salaries and benefits consume a lot of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Two things. It's Chesapeake Dock Dogs. I looked it up. You should look. You will see that dogs flying in the air, and you can sponsor a suit. And then one more thing. I forgot to do this. I did want to thank General Services. We had a motorist go into a sign right across from Jamestown High School. I think it's Green Springs. I can't remember what plantation. And we tried reaching out. We couldn't find anybody to take ownership of the sign, especially after it was smashed to smithereens. And so rather than just let that debris sit there, we have cleaned that up thanks to General Services, and Adam was a big help in that. And so, and we'll try to find the responsible who can help us pay for that. So, but thank you to them for at least getting it up. So, I do need a motion to enter into closed session for the following. Consultation with the county attorney regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by the county attorney, in particular, ownership and road maintenance status of the road known as Route 1101 Shellbank Drive, pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A8 of the Code of Virginia. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval?
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel?
Aye.
Mr. McGlennon? Mr. Eisenhower? Ms. Larson?
Aye. Okay. We are in closed session. Sorry. Okay, we need a motion to certify that we spoke about those things we said we would.
Madam Chair, I move it to certify.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel? Aye. Mr. McGlinnan? Aye. Mr. Eisenhower?
Aye.
Ms. Larson?
Aye. Are there any other matters?
If we could just go back to board requests and directives for a moment. Over the last couple of years, I've had a constituent come to me with an issue related to stormwater. And his basic concern is one that I think there's been a disagreement between the constituent and staff over the question of whether there is some responsibility and whether there's damage that's occurring because of stormwater that is flowing between at that person's property. And he suggests that there's significant erosion issues. What he has been told, though, by staff is that there is no money earmarked for that project now, that he will go on a list of potential projects. He made a request to me, which I thought was a fairly simple one, which is basically, can you tell me, is there a list? Where am I on the list? Is there any likelihood I'll move on the list? And I have not been able to get that despite several requests for it. And it raises the real question to me about whether we need to identify if there is any kind of funding that would be able to address such issues in the future, or whether we just have to tell people, sorry, you're out of luck. Personally, I do tend to lean to the side of saying we may have some responsibility in different places, or we may have a need to address concerns about constituents who have no other option to address issues that are significantly impacting their place of residence. But I'd just like to get a sense of where we are with those.
I think that's a very good question and topic, because I know it comes up a lot, not just with individuals, but when neighborhoods begin and then development happens around them, or things increase, and then their neighborhood is expected to take the additional drainage, and how they do that. And we do have grants and those types of things, but is that something we can talk about and get an answer to the question about the list?
You find out about the list.
So we move forward?
I have heard that before. Sorry we haven't gotten that back to you. But in terms of stormwater topic in general, I think that is one we could talk about to address where you want us to solve it. We certainly have VDOT streets that they're not worried about water in the ditch, and residents are. And so we spend a lot of time talking with people about water in their ditch and what little assistance we provide. It's mostly informational and how you can improve it, but it's not a whole lot of financial, and that is not satisfactory to many of our residents.
Right.
But
And I had a conversation with Scott before the meeting on one of my communities, Meadows 2, where they have an HOA and they are responsible for a BMP, and they have some maintenance that's going to be due on it. It's going to be to the tune of probably $100,000, and it's 135 homes. The problem is that about half of the drainage area into that BMP comes from non-HOA homes or VDOT right-of-way. And so, it's a little unfair to put that kind of a burden on some of the people when the rest of the people are getting a free ride and dumping their drainage runoff into the same facility as well. So I know it's not an easy solution, but we're trying to help them out with some funding. But that does raise, I think, it's the same kind of question that you're dealing with. Is we need to know what we're dealing with on it.
we can bring stormwater in general with things that we know are issues and things we've heard from you to talk about at a future meeting, and then see what direction we head.
Great.
That's fine. Yep. And part of maybe that we want to put on our legislative agenda, a more aggressive posture by VDOT in dealing with stormwater issues. I mean, these do have significant consequences, not only for our residents and our streets, but also for potentially Chesapeake Bay and other places where the failure to kind of address stormwater issues may be a problem.
All right, thank you. you.
I had one last thing too, for if you don't mind. I had spoken about the solar issue earlier, with the ordinance and the policy. And what I did was I went back and I like the approach that Adam was saying is we probably just need to put it all in the policy, not in an ordinance. And so I've drafted what I thought was a revision of the policy. I gave it to Adam. I gave it to Scott. I'm going to give Paul his copy, and I will email after the meeting. I will email a copy to all of you. My request is I would ask you to look at it. I would ask you to maybe draft your own. If you want to use that as a basis for editing, fine. If you want to start from scratch, fine. But I think we need to have as much possible input to Paul to try to get this finally resolved. And I think it's really in our best interest just to have a board policy, and then administratively, however they handle it, and within the planning division, it's something that no longer has to come. They can handle it internally. They don't have to worry about coming to us for approval to change things. We're just laying out what we think are the salient points that we think ought to be considered when we're looking at these SUPs. So
Will staff give feedback on what you've presented as well, so that we get staff input? Okay. All right. With that, I need a motion for adjournment until 6 p.m. on April 3rd, 2024 for the Berkeley District Community Meeting. So let me ask you a question. Are we going to stay open for each community meeting, or how are we doing? Is it better to do an adjournment until the end, or what? Because if we are adjourning till, so I'm going to have to call the meeting to order at Berkeley.
We did them in the calendar.
You don't have to leave the meeting open. The only time you could leave a meeting open.
Yeah.
If we advertise the next meeting, you can close this meeting.
Okay.
And we're still struggling a little bit with interpretation of the law and the recent court ruling of, we're not bringing you there to gavel the meeting together to call for a roll call for you to take any action. You may speak as a chair, and then the representative of each district would, I think, have an opportunity to speak. But I would do most of the presenting. You would be there to listen and respond to questions as the district representative and the chairperson. But as the board, you're not expected to take any action there as a board. So we've advertised them because that seems to be the interpretation of the current law, that if three of you are together, we have to call it a meeting whether you're taking any action or actually gaveling in or not.
Okay, so we can adjourn. If three of us come to the Berkeley meeting, we don't need to adjourn back, because unless we're going to go, so Jim, thanks for coming. What do you think about what Susie suggested? Is that something we should bring before the board? So we should avoid that type of discussion and just not worry about calling it in. Or call it, should.
If three of you are there, we went ahead and advertised it anyway.
So we call it. Okay.
The only thing that we end up doing is we have to take.
Okay.
And then we just file it in minutes.
Okay.
We're definitely erring on the side of caution.
Okay.
Calling that. Probably over.
Okay. All right, so adjourn this meeting and then call a meeting on April 3rd if three or more of us are there, and do that at each community meeting.
Yes, ma'am. And if three of you aren't there, you have a meeting.
Okay.
Didn't we need to open it up as a meeting? Because last time, and I know the rules are trying to change a little bit, but last time, as long as we advertised it, the general public knew, and as long as we recorded it and took minutes on what went on if there were three or more, then that covered it. Do we?
We're probably both saying the same thing. We call it in as a meeting.
Right.
All together at this time, 2:33, and then we kind of meet before you're there.
Yep.
Make sure that when you decide you're going to leave, say we're closing this meeting. 4:02.
Okay. All right. Let's just, well, you will be there to remind us of it. All right. Need a motion to adjourn. Thank you.
Ms. Knoll?
Aye.
Mr. Hippel? Mr. McGlinnan.
Aye.
Mr. Eisenhower. Ms. Larson.
Aye.